Well, I just purchased a Rugged Radio's 25 watt waterproof unit that combines with my 6100 and my RP 3600. So that one was kind of expensive, and I started looking at it and realized, wait a minute, that's a TYT unit. That's a TYT TH86 unit that's been converted. So I went ahead and bought a second one for my Commander and started doing some research on these things. There's two ways that you can purchase this one. I would get the WP. Check out RL Electronics. That's RL Electronics. They have these for $94 a piece without the waterproof. $99 with waterproof. That saves you over $150 for the same unit, same manufacturer and everything. It's so obvious when you got into the insides of both, it was identical. And so currently, you'd have to buy another $50 kit that comes in and plugs in and cancels out and then has to plug in the front. But there is not one made for this unit yet. And so I had to figure out, okay, if I want a second one, and I really want it to be like my first one with the automatic out on it, I've decided to go ahead and wire my own. Done some research, took the other one apart, saw where everything was at, and so I happen to have a spare, this one is a CJ Mott cable that I got when I bought another unit. It was just thrown in the box from the guy who sold it to me. So I've cannibalized it. I've done the wiring diagrams. I've also done a wire diagram here. So real simple, 3mm hex takes your 4 bolts off. A T8, these things are small. I've got one of these tiny kits to work with. So a T8 will get you 5 bolts off the front. Very simple, 3 in the bottom, 2 on top. 4 here, takes off the speaker cover. Here, just remove there and set aside. Now, what makes the difference between the WP, the waterproof, and that is there is a seal right here going around here. There's also a seal when you pull this off the front. There's also a seal right here. Now, this is a simple unit. I've already pre-taken that off. All that is a compression unit that once you put the ribbon back in, you compress it back down, and it does, and it takes care of that. Now, what my challenge is going to be is to wire this thing up the same way as I've done the one from the factory's been done, where they have theirs done overseas before they get them. So there's just a rubber plug right here, it looked like, where the cord for the fan came in. So that's where all of this has to come in as well. So I'm going to probably be safe and cut all this off. And wouldn't you know, I don't have my wire cutters up in my office. Well, some handy dandy scissors will always work for this size. There we go. Put those off to the side. Now, I'm not a wiring expert, and I can't promise you this will work for you. You've got to be very careful when you're soldering in these units. Yes, you're going to void the warranty as soon as you start this crap, so don't follow my lead unless you want to feel like you can tackle this stuff. I'm just fairly mechanically inclined, and when I research something, I think I know what I'm doing some days, and some days I don't. So that's all we do there, and what I'll do later is, of course, I'm gonna seal this sucker up. Let's see if we can't push it through. There we go. And what I'll do is I'll seal this up right here. Let's go ahead and cut that off now. Put some sealant, clear silicone there. That'll seal that cable in there. And I'm probably going to use a tiny bead of sealant. I'm going to go to the store and get a tiny bead of sealant, and I'll go ahead and put a bead of sealant in there. Let it dry first, that becomes your rubber washer, and so you should be fine there. Now I've done my homework, so I know that the red right here, I've got a schematic here of white, red, and black are what I'm going to be wiring into this unit right here. So here's an update on the wiring that I was just telling you all. Once I got the unit together, I realized that I had moved the wrong wires in the wrong direction. So I created a quick pinout look. If you were looking at the elongated unit, and over here is the plugs you're going to solder to. There's a line bar in there, and so there's your pinouts. You're going to use the white wire, red wire, and yellow wire for those pins accordingly. There are 6 pins in there, and those are the 3 pins. Those are the correct wires and combinations on a rugged radios unit. So wanted to update that so I didn't confuse you all and mess this thing up. And then later on I'll show you where I put the green and the black wires. So those are the ones that I need to extend up past. What I'm also going to be needing to do is, and I've got it over in my storage right now, I'm going to be encapsulating this in shrink wrap so that I can solder it on a little later on. So I'll at least get my 3 front wires done before I have to take a break, as I've got something coming soon, and get those run through. The way the factory did it is they just ran them through where the ribbon cable was. Easy enough. Give yourself some slack, so when you have to remove the faceplate for any reason, you've got plenty of slack, and that should be plenty if we cut them off right about there. You can never have too much slack as long as there's room in there to take care of it. So I've got those 3 forward. So I'm ready to solder, and here's where you better be careful. You better have a pinpoint soldering iron. These are rosin cores, so I'm just going to cut myself off a piece of this that I can work with freely. Stretch these out. So I'm going to be soldering my white one right there. Okay, so I've got everything wired up, looking pretty good here. I can put the front of this back together again, nothing super hard to do. Just reinsert your cable. Let's push those up through there a bit. That's secure. Let's pull these 3 through so we don't lose those joints. I'm going to come back later, and I'm also going to put a bead of caulk in here, of silicone, let it dry, and that'll act as a washer there as well, instead of trying to find these from these manufacturers. They're just about impossible to do. So we've got those 3 ready. We just kind of run them up out of the way where they don't bother anything, so we should be fine there. And then I'm going to take a break and get my shrink tube and get the rest of these cut and ready to put in place. So I've got the balance of it soldered up, run back through. I don't know if you can tell, right there is your first solder point, right here to the left. And the yellow goes there, and the ground and or green goes there along with the green. So I went ahead and encapsulated that into a green as well. So she's all ready to put back together again and see if it works. I'm going to seal this up, I think, with some dielectric grease instead of silicone. I think it'll do just about as good a job and won't quite be as messy and hard to remove if I had to remove it again. And all right, folks, here's my update, my final install. I've had this unit in for a couple of months. There have been several of you wanting to see this video, so I'm having to I lost some of my footage, and I'm having to kind of recreate a couple of things here. Sorry that the original footage was so dull. I added some light to my office here. I don't normally work on things up here, but it's just convenient for me to do small wiring, sitting in a chair and taking it easy. So with further ado, here's the wiring. The yellow, the red, and the white went up front. Notice the black and the yellow have changed, but don't let that confuse you. Red, yellow, and white go to the front pin. The black goes right here, right with the ground wire that was exposed that I encapsulated in some shrink tube in green. So I soldered that point there, and then the actual green wire goes to a solder point right to the left. There is a solder point right to the left of the black and red incoming power cord pinouts. And so solder your green right to the left there, if you can see that. You can't go wrong, just look at it to the left of the black. So you can see a lot of goop in here, trying to work with silicones hard in small places and not get it all over you. So that's just all that is a goopy mess. I put some black tape around some of that area to make sure that nothing touched. And she's wired up and ready to go. I've been using this unit for a couple of months now, and she's worked really fine for me. There's your pins, your connections on there. As I said before, I had one of these cables I cannibalized on one of my units that someone gave me extra when I bought this 6100 used. But you can buy these 6-pin, 5-pin units. Just go on eBay. You can find them. Hard to find some 5-pin wire out there. It took me a while. That's why I went ahead and cannibalized one. But you can find some 5-pin wire. Rugged has their pinouts listed out there on their website. Just dig in deep and you'll find that they will give you a list of their pinout codes. That's why you saw a sheet earlier on laying on the table when I was working on this. That was from Rugged. And so you can download those to help you understand how this thing works. Also, the Rugged radio codes I did post up on my original post on this. They're a link to the actual frequencies for Rugged. And the beauty of this is if you've got the USB connector on it, it will automatically upload these. For those of you who use different radios, those codes you can copy and paste in the CSV file and upload it into yours with the correct format. And so all those are frequencies in a CSV file and names of units, and names of those frequencies. So those of you that know how to do that, you can upload those in and have the same exact Rugged Radio's frequency list that Rugged puts out on all their machines. As always, I hope this was helpful. Hopefully this was useful. Thank you for watching. Subscribe. I got more things coming with SideBySideParts.net coming up as you keep watching me get excited about it. More to come. Tell your buddies. Share this. Love to help more. Any questions y'all have, just ask them and I'll get to them soon. Thanks again, folks. And as always, have a great week.